this Q&A video is trickier than I thought, because when I do my other videos, I'm cooking, I'm baking, I'm just downstairs doing what I normally do. But finding a time where I can answer questions has been proving difficult, but I think I'm okay. I'm running on like a 20% battery on my phone. My daughter's sleeping, and I have a son who's occupied with the sucker right now. So we're gonna see how long this lasts. I'm so excited to get all of the questions I did. I had some repeat questions, and so I kind of am just addressing like the main questions that came through. I have about 13. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Sarah. I have 8 kids ranging from ages 18, almost 18, he's 18 in August, to 2 years old, almost 2 in July. This is just kind of my vlog, lifestyle vlog of being a mother, sharing my passions of cooking and creating a beautiful environment for my children to be raised in. Okay, someone asked, are the floors in your kitchen original? Yes, they are. Our home was built in 1905. It is a Victorian Queen Anne style home. The mosaic floors in the kitchen, they are penny tiles and they are individually hand laid. Today, when you would get your kitchen tile set, your floors done, you have those big sheets that you can lay down and they're already patterned for you. These are just a little bit more unique and special because they really had to have a craftsman come in and specifically lay the tiles. I can't even imagine the measurements that would take to make sure everything was measured correctly and every tile was laid and everything was even. So they are very special and they are a very stunning feature of our home. People always ask about our floors. So yes, they're original. Question number 2 was, do you ever feel pressure to work? I wanted to address kind of way back when I first got married to Jack. I was a dental assistant and I just love working. I am a highly creative person and I love doing a good job. I love the satisfaction of working. For me, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And when I got pregnant with Everett, I worked up until just before I had him, and I never went back to work after that. There were definitely times that it would have been helpful if I could have brought in an income, but Jack and I have always been very much on the same page that my greatest job and work is here at the home. And I totally agree. I cannot imagine splitting work life and home life because this is a full-time job. And I also very much feel like the milestones my children hit, whether it's their first steps, their first foods, or their first words, whatever their firsts are, or the in-between, I feel like that is my rite of passage to see, to be there for, and I never wanted someone else to take those moments. So we have sacrificed over the years for me to stay home. That has meant that we have lived well, like below our means. We have struggled financially. It's been hard. It's hard in like the economy. I know a lot of households have dual incomes and it's been a sacrifice for sure. There were times that we shared one car, but I wouldn't change it for anything because I am home with my kids, and I feel like that is the greatest work. It's not for everybody, but I do know that my children have thrived from the stability of me always being here and being there for them, for me being able to connect with them on an emotional level. And I always wanted to make sure that I was always home to like welcome my kids from school. That was another question too. Question number 3 leads into that. It is, do you homeschool your kids? No, I do not. I used to homeschool them and it was not the right thing for my children and for our family dynamic. It was something that caused a lot of conflict and struggle in the home, and I was very overwhelmed with having to facilitate an education for so many different ranges and ages, and I did so many different curriculums, and It worked a little bit for a time, but my kids, and I've always told them that they have a choice. I will homeschool them or they can go to school. I always say kid by kid, year by year, because we don't know what circumstances are going to come up that their school situation to change. All of my kids are in school. We are fortunate to live in a small town where I feel like we have really good teachers, but you know, it's not going to be perfect. I'm determined to raise very strong kids who can think for themselves and who can discern. And that is something that I'm always teaching them, especially being in the school environment and in the social environment there as well. But they really, really love it. And they love everything that comes along with it. Okay, question number 4. Were you and your husband raised in a similar family culture? Yes, we were actually both raised Mormon, which is very focused on families, family home evenings, being together. And we were raised with parents who were very devoted to each other, which was a wonderful thing to see growing up, because when we got married or when we met, we wanted to have the same thing for our children and our family. Okay, question number 5 is, do you and your husband have a faith or a religion? And yes, we were raised Mormon. We don't currently practice like the Mormon teachings. We kind of have our own spiritual life and our own belief system. And I feel like there's a very big difference between religion and spirituality. And religion for me was feeling like I had to do things a certain way, where spirituality is more led by my spirit and my own conscience. And that's what I also teach my kids. But we are definitely in a predominantly Mormon area, and my kids have great friends. They're included in activities and things like that. But I really feel like the most important thing for my kids is for them to choose and feel like they're stewards of their spiritual life. And that is something that we have felt strongly about as a couple as well. But we definitely have a strong faith in God, just, you know, being really good people and loving people purely, despite their religion or who they are or what they've chosen, that we just choose to love. Number 6 is, where is Sophie's bedding from? You guys are so funny because I get this question a lot. You see that I go and take naps with my little 2-year-old Sophia. Her bedding is from Target. I will link it below. It is so cute and charming and very affordable. Okay, number 7, tips for raising kids and little ones and nap time. So I'm going to kind of share all of this. So it might be a little bit of a longer answer, but I feel like I've learned so much over the years of having little kids, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I can admit, wow, I made that mistake. I wish I could go back. I wish I could have done this differently. And I feel like the number one thing that I think is so powerful is that children, teenagers, kids are no different emotionally from us. Any emotion that comes up in us, we just want to be heard, we want to be seen, and we want to be loved. There's no difference in my kids. And it doesn't matter if it's something that's not important to you, it's important to them. So being able to hold a space for their feelings and what they are feeling is important, because they're going to start to trust themselves and feel validated in their feelings and their emotions. If we just say, don't cry, don't do that, stop that, they should be able to feel their emotion. And as long as that emotion isn't hurting someone, there's always a consequence. If you hurt someone, you have to go in your room for 10 minutes and you have to think about it, because we don't hurt people. So I think that is really important. I don't think kids today are feeling enough validation in their feelings, and I think that they're feeling swallowed up in a lot of those emotions. I also feel like in today's world, there's not enough connection with our children with all the technology, which I have a question on that in a minute, which I will talk about. It's really important for us to just connect eye to eye and be there for one another without judgment. There was a podcast I listened to that I really loved that really helped me as a parent, called Let Them by Mel Robbins, which really shows that it's okay to let your kids fail. You don't need to micromanage their lives. Giving them choices, giving them options, letting them have those highs and lows are the things that shape their character, and it shapes them in being able to know their strengths. And that is also important. So not being a helicopter parent, but just letting them experience life and letting them experience their choices, I feel like is very important. Then as far as nap time routine, I am flexible with naps because I don't think it should be a stressful thing. Again, babies should be treated like adults. Like if I'm being pushed into a room and told I have to nap, I'm not gonna want to do that. So I definitely let my children lead me in what they need. And if that's a nap, we do a nap. And sometimes that's at 1, sometimes that's at 2, sometimes it's falling asleep in the car, and that's okay. So I'm pretty flexible with that. But I've also learned with having so many kids that nap time can be a quiet time for me as well. Don't try to fill that space with being productive, because you need a rest. And I definitely have not done that with all my kids, and I definitely do it now. Will we be able to hear Jack play the piano? Yes. I love that he plays the piano. When we first met, he could just play simple hymns from this simple hymn book, and he just took one song after another that he wanted to learn, and he would just pound it out on the piano. It is a way that he releases stress. It is a way that he fills his cup. He is an accompanist for choirs. He has been an accompanist for solo work, ward organist. He is just awesome, and I love that he plays. It adds so much beauty and music to our home. We have a couple other kids that play as well, and it's something that my kids are always going to remember, that their dad was at the piano, and I just love that. Okay, did you always want a lot of kids? No, yes and no. When Jack and I first were married, we thought that we'd have 4 or 5 kids. I came from a family of 6 siblings, so including me. Jack came, he's the youngest of 4 siblings. And so we always thought we'd kind of do 4 or 5, right? You just right in the middle. And we had our first 2 kids. We had Everett and we had Harry. And then we ended up having Jane and Kitty. And that was so lucky. Who gets 2 boys and 2 girls? It was just so lucky, so exciting. We ended up moving away to Texas, and I just kept feeling like there was one more baby. It took me about 2 years to convince Jack for one more. The story is so bad. It's so funny. So I was finally able to convince Jack, because Jack was great at 4. He's like, no, 4 is great. So we finally decide we're going to have Teddy, but it'll be like a caboose baby, because there's going to be a 4-year gap, because our first 4 kids were born in 5 years. So they're really close in age. And we ended up moving back to Utah right after he was born. We had kind of a transition time where we were living with my parents. And I had a surprise pregnancy with Francis. Then we moved into this house, and I had a surprise pregnancy the very first year we moved in with Alfie. He was born in May of 2020. After Alfie, we just both felt like there was one more baby. It was like her spirit was always with us. And Jack has always been very sensitive to the spirits of our kids. When the second I'm pregnant, he knows what we are having, and he's not been wrong. He's 8 for 8. We stopped finding out after my 3rd baby, because he'd always be right. We knew that the next baby we have is going to be a girl, and so we brought her here. And of course, she was a girl. She was a home birth here, so was Alfie, and her little redhead, and her name is Sophia. No, I never thought I'd have 8 kids. It still blows my mind. When I lay down at night, I just start to think about all the kids sleeping, and it starts to just freak me out that there's 8 kids that I am in charge of who look to me. And it's a lot. Our house is busy. all the time. All of my kids' friends are here all the time. It's because I bribe them with food. I love it when my kids' friends are here. It's great. Like, we wouldn't trade it. It's not like, oh, my life is so great and it's rainbows. It's like, no, it's frustrating. There's highs and lows. There's a lot of emotions in this house. There's a lot of opinions in this house. And there's also a lot of love. So it just comes with all of it. Kids and phones / technology. We do not have any iPads for our kids. We have one computer that they can share to do homework on. One of the reasons why is because we had an iPad that someone gave us years ago, and it was just the greatest source of contention. And you could say, well, why don't you just get more iPads? Because it was pulling my children away from each other. They were disconnecting and connecting to games, and the games, I would notice, were so stimulating for them that they would have huge tantrums, meltdowns, bad behavior after the technology. So I learned years ago, no, we don't do that. It's rare that we'll have a computer game going. My teenagers have dumb phones. My story is a little bit unique, and I'm going to share it because this is a little bit of background of why I've never wanted my kids to have technology or social media, things like that. When I was 13, I actually had a friend who was killed, and she met a guy on a chat room. This is when we had dial-up internet. I was 13 and she went missing, and they found her a year later, and it was just devastating. Like, I'm still devastated by it. Like, it was awful to have to go through that as a teenager, to have your like bubble burst that there's bad people out there that would hurt someone else. I've always been very careful about the internet and predators and those kinds of things. And now it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And so, you know, we all go through things for a reason, and it teaches us something. My experience, I feel like, has really helped me in being very aware of situations and things that my kids could get into. And then I've been able to teach my kids about it as well, because they know about my friend, they know about the dangers. There is a book called The Anxious Generation. I will link that below too. It is a great book that talks about what is happening to our kids with all of this technology. And there's really good news at the end of it. So I highly recommend it because it gives you solutions in being able to pull your kids out of this. And, you know, you just have to be one of those parents that stands firm and says, yeah, we're not going to do things like everybody else, and we're not going to just give you a phone. There's a question about the history of our house and how we acquired it. I'm going to answer this as well. And I'll probably go into a more in-depth video, like showing the house. I'm working on a couple of videos right now, but the history on our house was that it was built in 1905. It is actually called the house that eggs built because the man, Soren Hansen, who built our home, he made his fortune by buying eggs from farmers, and then he built his own storage facility where he would store the eggs, which was it was just right next to this house, our house. And then he would distribute them through Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and he made his fortune. So he built this house for his wife, Ava. They had 6 kids. We've actually named her Ava. We really honor her. We love her. The Hansen family did not stay here long. They moved to Hollywood. I don't know if they just wanted warmer weather, probably. This home actually turned into 4 apartments at one point. And then in the 70s, the owner that owned it before us, so he had owned it for over 60 years, he and his wife turned it back into a family home. And they have done amazing work. All of the wallpaper is from that restoration in the 70s. We have just painted literally everything, added curtains, we've like refinished some floors, and we've put in all new chandeliers. Almost all new chandeliers have been replaced in this home. We've put a chandelier where there wasn't a chandelier. So it's been a really fun house because we got to come to a lot of beautiful things, been able to add a lot of beautiful things. And then someone asked, can you tell us about like shopping for furniture and accessories and like paintings for your house? So when we moved in, we did not have hardly anything. When we moved from Texas, we sold half of our belongings so that we wouldn't have to move with much. We had some beds and some dressers and some shabby couches that needed to be replaced. We ended up thrifting everything in this house. The number one person who loves to thrift and has found all of our furniture has been Jack. He has found coffee tables on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. He's found our big wardrobe in our bedroom. He found that. The big 4-poster bed. Our sofas downstairs, they are secondhand. All of our sofas, all of our furniture is secondhand. I think the only thing that we bought new was our dining room table and the bench that went with it. But the chairs in the dining room, I just reupholstered with my mom. This came with the house. So it's just been fun to acquire furniture piece by piece and really curate our home. I love a home that feels gathered rather than bought. I love it to be eclectic and unique because that's how I am. I'm definitely a unique, eclectic person, and I do not fit in a brand new home with brand new furniture. That is just not me. Another thing is paintings. We really love original artwork, and we have found beautiful art, whether we have found it thrifting or I acquired a beautiful painting from my grandpa that's in my living room, or we've purchased paintings from other artists. We really love doing that. How and when did you train your kids to get them off to school? Did you ever pack their lunches? This is a great question. And I was kind of thinking about it because I thought, man, I don't know how my kids just get up and go to school. I never have to get them off to school. I think the reason why my kids are so independent is because I've always allowed them to just be themselves. I've allowed them to dress the way they want to dress. My daughter Frances, she's 5. She puts on mascara every day. She loves it. I don't micromanage how they look. I definitely try to teach them how to clean, do things like that. But as far as like their responsibilities, it is theirs. My son Harry, I'm more than happy to take him to his lacrosse practices. He always gets a ride. He finds a ride, he gets a ride, he handles everything he needs for his lacrosse, which I just think is so cool. And I feel like it's a very great skill to have, being able to go out into the world and just make life happen. My kids just get up in the morning and they all get ready for school and they get themselves out the door. I don't even have to do anything. I'm literally like sitting there with my coffee, like just waiting for someone to need me. But they make their lunches because they know what they like. Some kids eat school lunch and because that's what they choose. Frances will ask me to do her hair. Sometimes Kitty wants me to curl her hair. It's just whatever they want and I'm there. But I really feel like their independence has come from me promoting their individuality to just be themselves and present themselves and live life the way they want. I have one final question. It is, what would your dream vacation be? And I feel like it would be somewhere that we could all stay in a really big house and that we could just lay around on the beach. So maybe Hawaii, but I know it's so far and that seems to be like the typical answer. Maybe somewhere in Mexico, I don't know, but it would just be so fun to take our kids somewhere warm where we can just lay in the sun and swim. My kids love to swim and they love summertime, so definitely somewhere that we could do that. But I am also very much a homebody. I took a trip with my girls 2 weeks ago, 5 hours away, had so much fun, but I was so homesick and I was hammered when I got back because I didn't sleep. I had Sophie just having a hard time because she wasn't napping because she was out of her routine. It was fun, but it came at a cost and I was so glad to be home. My son Harry just got off of a 4-day tournament and he hated it because he wanted to be home because we're really home, we're homebodies. So yeah, we want a vacation, but we also have to deal with the fact that if we go somewhere, we have to sleep not in our beds, and that's like hard for us. Anyway, that is the questions, and I'm so glad that I could answer them. Keep them coming. I will continue to collect and do one of these further down the road. I hope that this answered your questions and that you kind of get an insight into how I learned from past experiences, how I function in life. definitely have made so many mistakes, and that is okay because we learn from our mistakes. As long as we can learn from our mistakes, I think we're just absolutely okay, and we're totally human and we're totally normal. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.